Welcome to The Explainer. So, I think a lot of us are pretty familiar with the profound wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, right? And, of course, the epic, triumphant heights of the Kurukshetra War. But what actually happened next? Because the narrative doesn't just neatly end with a victory. In fact, it transitions into something deeply tragic and, honestly, intensely profound. It's a really compelling question, isn't it? What happens after the greatest war in history? Well, when we look at our sources for this explainer, everything from ancient epics like the Mahabharata all the way to modern archaeological data, they reveal this fascinating, multi-layered story. Today, we're going to explore the inescapable nature of karma, a massive shift in cosmic time, and literally the twilight of the gods themselves. Chapter 1, The Curse of the Yadavas. To really understand the aftermath, we have to look at the Mausala Parva, which is this incredibly brutal 16th book of the Mahabharata, and it revolves around the number 36. Because exactly 36 years after the Kurukshetra War came to an end, an ominous curse from the grieving mother Gandhari and the sage Kanva Maharishi finally took hold of Lord Krishna's own clan, the Yadavas. Gandhari's curse had acted and achieved its purpose, just like the Lord himself had promised her. What happened was, the Yadavas had gathered by the sacred Prabhasi, but instead of praying, they became heavily intoxicated. Old rivalries started flaring up, and in this drunken, chaotic state, two warriors, Satyaki and Kritavarma, struck the first fatal blows against each other. And that just sparked a massive, incredibly violent civil war. Now, the mythology of how this curse actually manifested is so bizarre and specific. Krishna's son, Samba, literally birthed a cursed iron mace. Terrified by this, the Yadavas ground the mace down to powder and threw it into the sea. But that powder washed ashore and grew into erica grass. So later, when the warring, intoxicated Yadavas were brawling on the beach, they plucked this grass to use as weapons, and the blades miraculously transformed into deadly iron bolts right in their hands. In just a matter of minutes, the entire clan completely destroyed itself.
Chapter 2, The Inescapable Grip of Karma.
Which brings us to the shocking death of Krishna himself. The sources are really highlighting a fundamental principle here. No one, absolutely no one, not even an avatar of the supreme god Vishnu, is exempt from the cosmic law of karma. It's this universal law of divine justice where actions dictate consequences across multiple lifetimes. And Krishna's demise in the forest, it's presented as the ultimate definitive illustration of this inescapable system. The mythology brilliantly illustrates how that karmic scare is perfectly, flawlessly balanced. Think back to a past life. Vishnu's avatar, Lord Rama, killed the monkey king Vali from a hidden spot behind a tree. So to balance the scales, Vali was reborn in the current era as a hunter named Jera. And while Krishna was resting in the forest, Jera actually mistook Krishna's red foot for the eye of a deer. He shot an arrow from a distance, striking Krishna's one and only vulnerable spot, ending his mortal avatar.
Chapter 3, The Sinking of Dwarka.
With Krishna gone, our narrative shifts away from the forest and over to the fate of his legendary capital city, Dwarka. And this is where things get super interesting because we're bridging ancient mythology with modern science. On one hand, the mythological account tells this epic tale where the ocean basically rose up and swallowed the city in a massive wave right after Krishna departed. But the archaeological reality? The Archaeological Survey of India has actually discovered physical remains down there. We're talking citadel walls, huge stone anchors, and pottery sitting 40 to 60 feet underwater in the Arabian Sea off the coast of Gujarat. And just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, the sources mention the number 96. According to the texts, Krishna, working with the divine architect Vishwakarma, originally reclaimed 96 square kilometers, which is 12 yojanas, of land from the sea to build this magnificent, heavily protected city. So ultimately, the sea just took back what was borrowed. Chapter 4, The Dawn of Kali Yuga. The destruction of Dwarka and the death of Krishna weren't just the end of a dynasty, you know? They were the trigger for a massive cosmic shift. Krishna's departure marks the exact literal transition point between world ages in Hindu cosmology. Astronomical calculations and Puranic sources pinpoint the start of this new age, the Kali Yuga, to precisely midnight, right between February 17th and 18th in the year 3102 BCE. That places us right here, today, in 2026 CE, with a really, really long way to go until this age finally ends in the super distant year of 428,899 CE. What's genuinely fascinating about this cosmic timeline is the ratio of these ages. The Yuga cycle degrades over time in a 4:3 to 2:1 ratio. We are currently living in Kali Yuga, which is the 1 in that ratio. That makes it the shortest of the 4 world ages, but unfortunately, it's also described as the worst. It's an age characterized by conflict, sin, hypocrisy, and a really steep decline in basic human virtue. If we break down the actual math, Kali Yuga lasts for a total of 432,000 human years. That includes a dawn period of 36,000 years, the proper age of 360,000 years, and then a dusk of another 36,000 years. Looking at these numbers, it becomes pretty clear that despite all of our recorded modern history, we're actually still sitting in the very, very early dawn stages of this dark era. We've barely started.
Chapter 5. The Pandavas' Final Journey.
Knowing that the Kali Yuga had officially arrived, the heroes of the epic had a massive decision to make. In the Mahabharata Parva, which is actually the shortest book of the Mahabharata, the Pandavas hear the news of Krishna's death. They immediately crown a new king and completely renounce their earthly kingdom. They embark on this one final great journey across India. Chronologically, they head east first, where Arjuna is commanded by the fire god Agni to throw his magical celestial bow, Gandiva, right into the waters. Stripped of all their worldly power, they turn north to cross the treacherous Himalayas toward Mount Sumeru. And they're joined along the way by this remarkably loyal stray dog. But the climb is completely unforgiving, and a deeply tragic sequence unfolds. One by one, the heroes fall dead in the snow. Yudhishthira, the eldest and most righteous, doesn't stop walking, but he explains exactly why each of them fell. He points out the singular, fatal flaw that held each one back from heaven. Draupadi's partiality to Arjuna over her other husbands, Sahadeva's immense pride in his own wisdom, Nakula's vanity regarding his handsome looks, Arjuna's arrogance in his unmatched martial skills, and finally, Bhima's gluttony and pride in his brute strength. And this brings us to the philosophical climax of the entire epic. Yudhishthira reaches the summit all alone, just him and the dog. The god Indra appears in a chariot to take him to heaven, but there's a catch. He tells him the dog cannot come. Yudhishthira flat out refuses to get in. Indra questions this, asking, "Why would you abandon your beloved family in the snow, yet fiercely defy the gods to protect a simple dog?" Yudhishthira explains his logic. He couldn't revive the dead. There is no friendship or enmity with the dead. But to abandon a living creature that is entirely devoted to him just for his own personal happiness, that would be a massive sin. His exact words here are incredibly powerful. "I never give up a person that is terrified, nor one that is devoted to me. I shall never give up such a one till my own life is at an end." Upon hearing this, the dog transforms. It wasn't just a dog. It was actually the deity Dharma, the very embodiment of righteousness, and Yudhishthira's spiritual father, in disguise. Yudhishthira had passed the ultimate test, and for his completely steadfast virtue, he is allowed to ascend to heaven in his physical human body. And honestly, that is how the epic truly concludes. It teaches us about the inescapable, absolute grip of karma, and it perfectly sets the stage for the dark age of Kali Yuga that our sources say we currently inhabit. But above all else, it reminds us of the ultimate power of steadfast dharma, doing the right thing, even when absolutely everything else is falling away. So I'll leave you with this to think about. When you look at the ancient text descriptions of conflict, hypocrisy, and declining virtue, do you recognize the symptoms of the Kali Yuga in our world today? Thanks for exploring this with me, and keep questioning what comes next.